Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, James L. Seagraves, coming to you at the rising shine hour of 7:17 a.m. on Tuesday, 11/11, Veterans Day / Lennon Seagraves' 19th birthday. I've been at it all morning to get all these scenarios for you, and believe me, there are a lot of scenarios. Some of these divisions are already spoken for. Some of them people thought might have been spoken for, but when the brain gets going and we look at all the combinations, you're not so fast, my friend, as I sent to Manny Flores early this morning because he sent me a message late last night saying, oh, I think I won my conference. No, not so fast, my friend. We have to get going quickly as I have to open the store by myself. What else is new? So I'm going to get this with this big bright lights not shining in your face. Anyway, bottom 10. Nobody really cares at this point, but we're going to go. I have a little kudos to give before I get too far because these guys don't get a lot of love down here. You can already see who the worst team is, but it doesn't matter. True Blue Wrecking Crew, give me 2 for the road. 2 Girlies Would Cut My Balls at Gertz. Obviously not your season here. 3 and 5 game losing streaks. Sith happens. Colin St. Germain still got that GameCube. I see it on Facebook Marketplace. Unsportsmanlike begging. Bad year for you. Now you see me now. But look at this. The Mad Scientist.
All I do is win.
Yeah, the Mad Scientist. He doesn't necessarily all he does necessarily, but he's on a 2-game win streak after starting 0-8. This guy doesn't give up like some of these chumps that have had their teams taken from them. This motherfucker was 0-8, 0-8, and he still playing, still plugging away. 2 games in a row. Hey, that's something to build on when you get that early draft pick that doesn't happen. So congratulations to you, man. I'm proud of you. You're still in the running for the playoff drawing. It would be a miracle, but it could happen. And I'm happy to say that you never gave up, like Jimmy V. It's your new nickname. And then, of course, the Rockets. The other conference members needed you to win that game, and you did. I'm pretty sure that's who you played this week. Someone who was very with high repute. And the Red Rockets won that game and kept the other conference alive, I think. I don't know, but that means our new bottom 100 with only 1 win is none other than the Batman himself, Nantab Knights. Not your year. 1-9. 1-7 in conference. Don't worry about that 2008. Not your year, no doubt. Now we're going to transition out of there and up to the top 20. And again, I want to reiterate that the top 20 means nothing at the end of the day. It just gives you a sense of where you're playing, makes it easier to find out what games are important. Mullen Incorporated loses and falls out of the 7-3 column, or group, I should say. Football is life with a huge win this week, keeps them alive. Suicide Squad, another huge win. These games, in case you can't tell, well, we'll talk about the cover in a second. FarmersOnly.com wins again, 4 in a row. Golf with Laporta loses a critical game to me, barely, thanks to Sam Darnold's nothing performance, which helped James St. Germain this week. Anyway, Better Bring Your A-Game falls or raised from number 20, number 15. From behind loses, falls from number 8 to number 14. Nibama Gibbs loses. This is big. Both these guys kind of control their own destiny. They both lost, opening the door for the Suicide Squad. We'll talk about that in a minute, who's actually ranked below them. But we'll talk about it when we get to the playoffs. K-Dog Millionaire, 4-game win streak. Needs a miracle to win that conference, but it can't happen. Do even Swift Pro. Will's Wranglers, big win. Patriot Thunder, huge win for him. Unfortunately for me, that eliminates me. The Black Hole loses a critical game that he needed to win, but not necessarily needed to win. We'll talk about that. Hitting Rugs, Malcolm Rodriguez needed to win that game. Pylon Pounders definitely needed to win that game. Chop It Off, It'll Make You Stunning and Brave, Muckers, Cheechki, and of course our number 1 team is Bleeding Blue Bombers. Randomizers, I'm just going to say it. Only 1 randomizer this week. Gary Grant's double G spot. He actually needed that win too. Because we took away the bad teams, the teams that have been randomized. They were not randomized this week. My third-party affiliate put all the lineups in, unlike Jorn Chubble's guy was supposed to do last week. So, anyway, that's that. You gonna take a drink? We're still recording, just making sure my mic's still working. We had a little issue earlier, and another thing that I was doing for a surprise project coming soon. Nevertheless, here we go. We're going to go the fastest minutes. And look at this. We're going to go super fast because, like I said, I have to open the store by myself. Here we go. What do they got to say? They say the muscle game of the week was... This is crazy. I thought there was another game that would be this because nobody gives a shit about these teams. I mean, they do, but not in the grand scope of things. Steel City Sackers beats Death by 1,000 Punts by 61.46 to 61.29. Steel City Sacks moves to 5-5. Death by 1,000 points falls to 4-6. Red Rockets, yes, this should have been the game of the week. I was looking at this thing. 92.95 over Vic in a box, who needed that win severely. I'm not sure what the hell my fantasy league's thinking, not calling this the game of the week, because this game mattered. This game mattered. Vic in a box needed that win. Jahmyr Gibbs had a huge performance. Bleeding Blue Bombers beat out Superstars. They didn't even need that win, but now that was a huge win for them. We'll talk about that why here in a minute. Trey McBride, big game. Hurt So Good could not beat Hernandez Hitman, who submits the lineup for the second straight week and wins for the second straight week, I believe. Ducky on Quack, big win for him. He's still alive in the playoff hunt based on points. We'll talk about that in a minute. I've done some research this time in advance. Imagine that. FarmersOnly.com beats Nantab Knights and moves up to number 17. Patriot Thunder barely beats Tallywhackers. Tallywhackers needed that win to keep the Providence Powers season alive. Fortunately, they didn't get it. Sam Darnold fucked him. 1 point. Despite the fact the Seahawks scored 44 points, Sam Darnold scores 1 point. He's back to Sam Darnoldisms. There we go. Congratulations to James St. Germain, kept your season very much alive. And in fact, you're now in the driver's seat. You're welcome. Speaking of which, why are you saying you're welcome? Because Goffin Laporta loses to the Providence Power, also victimized by Sam Darnold. But he also had Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor in, who put up over 60 points between the two of them. Yikes. True Blue Wrecking Crew couldn't beat Nut All Over Your Face. Nut All Over Your Face still alive in that conference. Moose Knuckles doubles up on DeWyant, who only put up a paltry 34.8 points. The Donkey Punchers drops 112 and beats Brady's Balls, puts up 100 points. Brutal loss for Brady's Balls there. He falls to 5-5, and that hurt bad. Donkey Puncher goes to 5-5. No one is relevant in that conversation in terms of winning the conference. All Too Well barely beats Soggy Croutons. Did some close games, 90.9 to 89.1 by 21.45 points by Matthew Stafford. Lewis Diana football team gets another win. Hey, look at that over Squadrels. Squadrels have fallen off the face of the earth. They had 1 point win in their conference. Now they are 5-5. Just an abysmal performance. $75 million man loses to Muckers, who put up 69.89. $7 million was doing a great job, but he lost. You're in trouble with the new owner. Can't beat low-hanging fruit. Not that it really mattered. Eric Hester goes to 5-5. DeMar Hernandez blue shot over Whispering Eyes. I think that hurt Whispering Eyes a little bit. He's 5-5, yes. Brian's blue shot moves to 6-4. He's out of contention, unfortunately. Malcolm Rodriguez with a big win over Digger Phelps, who actually did submit a lineup this time. Good, congratulations, Andy. Malcolm Rodriguez controls their own destiny with that win now. Football is life. Can win that conference easily with a little help. He took out Joe Buckerson pretty substantially, 108 to 748. Play with Mike Ditka over Give Me Two for the Road, 66 to 59. Golf and Balls loses again. Chris Russell was number 1 at some point. He's a defending champion. He has had just an abysmal second half of the season here. Clockwork Elves moves to 5-5. Stinky Fingers needed this win hugely. Sewer Bomb said, nah, not happening. Craig Kissel goes to 6-4. Stinky Fingers falls to 6-4 in a must-win game he had. Fly Eagles Fly keeps their season alive with a win over Tush Pushers. Lamar Jackson led them with 11 points. Actually, the Texans defense. How did they win that game, by the way? I cannot believe the Texans won that game, but they did. And now, Mick DeBow. I mean, their offense looks more impressive than the Eagles' actual offense. Oh my God, what a snooze fest. It's not every day you'd say I'd rather watch next week's Monday Night Football game, which is the Raiders and Cowboys, which are sure to produce more offense than the Eagles and Packers. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The most overrated, overachieving teams in history are those two teams, and it proved it when they played against each other. They might as well just play with each other. Double Dutch Rudder style. 99% luck, 1% heart. Wins over Trippin' on Fofos. Nobody really cares. Sith Happens. Drops to Cotton Jock. He's put up 117 points. Way to go, Mike Carl. So we got your Google fixed. The Nuts defeats Do Even Swift Bro, which that was a big win. Do Even Swift Bro. That screws him up a little bit. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Coming from behind. Couldn't win a crucial game. BVC Brad Van Camp. I like to see the pride in these owners with a few wins. They've been in the league a while. They're not going to let someone just run away with the division. They're going to play spoiler. Unfortunately, spoiler alert, 979 did not win over concussion protocol. Didn't really hurt anything. Kakambas losing. That was big for them. It's Agnasty, who was once in the top 20, now finds himself mediocre 5-5. This was huge, people. Nibble on the Gibbs, Cough My Golf could have knocked out the Suicide Squad, essentially, with a win there, but he didn't. J-Mac, former number 1 team, still now number 18, technically. beats up on Nibble on McGibbs. Cough, my God. I'm stopping the music again, people, because people just don't listen to me. Now, I've warned you 3 weeks in a row now about friggin' Bonnie Monahan's love story, Jordan's version, and now they have won again, and as you will soon see, they have a chance to win that conference, and guess what? They probably will. Just letting you know, someone should have listened to me. Hanging with Mr. Hernandez. Yeah. Chris Melclory. Nope. You didn't put in a good enough lineup. I mean, you can't be starting Romeo Dobbs in his fucking backyard football helmet wearing ass against Love Story because, well, he sucks. Anyway, way to go, Bonnie Monahan, in a chance to win that conference, which would be a miracle, but it could happen easily. Super Cyclones, they beat up on Chichki, who didn't need the win for anything for the conference, but the first round buys does damage there. He didn't mail it in, he didn't put an okay lineup. Jack off in the end zone, his struggles continue. Your mother likes my defense showing a little pride here, moving to 5-5, leading on Allen Harvey. Strong Street Soldiers, Minturn, falls to 5-5. Swine flu, Mike Kaminsky did not have the sophomore season he was hoping for, but he's still putting in lineups. Nasty Nutria loses to Prime Time, 102-60. Prime Time 6-4, looking very much alive in both the playoff scenarios here, but not winning the conference. Hawk 2 over my Balzackers. Don Knapp continues to struggle. Pork and Beans over double G spot. He got randomized with some good players too. Chardonnay, Zach Charbonnet, Lamar Jackson, David Montgomery, Nico Collins, but they just didn't put him up. Okay, double C's. Double C's was very much alive in this conference, and they put in a good lineup. Bryce Young, but Quinshon Judkins, Jordan Mason, Justin Jefferson, Quentin Johnston, Brock Bowers, and the double C's with a good lineup put up 26 points in a game they needed to win. Ouch. Yeah, I'm on one. Josh Harris moves to 6-4. Freaking double C's falls to 6-4. Critical loss. Chop It Off, they beat up on Aiken for a ship, who falls to 5-5. Chop It Off's looking good. Ghetto Heisman put it up over 2 Girlies, 1 Cup. I think this one always airs out. I don't know how it airs out, but it does. The Apache Chiefs needed to beat up on Better Bring Your A Game, but they couldn't. And Better Bring Your A Game wins. Keeps them alive, they think, although it's not really true. New Orleans Rock Chucks, under new management, beat up on Password as Taco, 5-5. New Orleans Rock Chucks moves to 4-6. K-Dog Millionaire keeps their season alive, barely, but they win 7-3. They're not in great shape to win that conference, but they're in great shape to make the playoffs based on record. So we'll talk about that here in a second. The Crush gets doubled up on pretty much by Freddie versus Jason, who gets only his 4th win of the year. Hitting Rugs. We said we were going to watch this like a hawk. Maddie Bradley took it to heart. She put the hammer down on her brother in a game he needed to win. 100.2. I told you she was a woman of integrity. Wasn't going to let this guy win. And she sure as hell did not. She put in a crazy lineup. Josh Allen, Gibbs, McCaffrey, Jefferson, JSN, Mark Andrews, Nick Folk, and the Broncos defense. I mean, man, Mason put up 82 points. Lost the game, though. 100 points for Maddie Bradley. Congratulations to you. Will's Wranglers needed this win, and he got it. Keeping his season alive. Knuckles in for the win over Garrity's Gigolos. Knuckles gets 4 wins. Good job. The Mad Scientist concocts his 2nd straight win and beats up on Jamie Phelps. Oh, no, it's Bracy Trudell. Damn it, I always get the names confused. Bracy needed that win to stay alive in the hunt. Not for the playoff, or not for the conference championship, but just the wins. Everyone's alive for the randomizers, or for the playoff drawing. Cuckoo Ain't You finally gets another win over Sticks It In Ya, 93-78. Pylon Pounders, this was the game of the week, and it lived up to it. Pylon Pounders up over the Black Hole in a game that's not as important as you would actually think when the numbers break down. And I'll explain that in a minute, because he has a tiebreaker, but because of the conference record, that's where things get complicated. That's why he sent me that message saying he thought he won, but he did not win. Turn Your Head and Golf needed this win bad. It would have been a crazy finish in that conference had he won that, but he did not. Show me them TDs. Chad Lige, 83 over to 60. And that is it. We did that pretty fast, guys. Congratulations to me for getting that done on time. Now, we're going to look at the conference first, and then we're going to go with this playoff looks, okay? So you look at the conference here. Can I go to standings? Let's go to standings so we see a little bit better. Here we go. Bleeding Blue Bombers, as we've said, already won their conference. The Kirk Lazarus Conference, three-man race here. Patriot Thunder, golfing the Port Nut all over your face. Muckers has already won their conference. We're going to dive deeper here in just a second. Malcolm Rodriguez, Football is Life, both 7-3. DeMar Hamlin's Booster Shot 6-4. Unfortunately, that doesn't matter for them because of their conference record, and Malcolm Rodriguez's MLFI's record's better than theirs. So DeMar Hamlin cannot win the conference, but they can go out swinging. Dweeva Swift Bro, Sewer Bombs and Fly Eagles Fly. A lot going on here. We'll talk about that. Suicide Squad coming from behind. Nibble and McGibbs, Cough, McGough. All tied, all with the same conference record. There's a reason why number 18 is above number 14 and 13. That's because Suicide Squad has beaten both coming from behind and Nibble and McGibbs, Cough, McGough. But look right there. There she is. Bonnie Monahan, 6-4, 5-3, still mathematically alive. We'll talk about it in a second. Cheechke's already won this conference, but again, the way the playoffs work, it's going to be interesting with how the buys work. Chop it off, same situation, 8-2, 6-2 conference record. Cheechke, 7-1 conference record. He's in good shape, but we're going to look at that. Hitting Rugs, Will's Wranglers, K-Dog Millionaire all tied at 7-3, but K-Dog Millionaire's record hurts him right here, 5-3, whereas the other two, 6-2, 6-2, and guess what? They play each other this week. So that's what almost, it is possible. We'll talk about it. It is possible for K-Dog Millionaire to win that conference, but it's going to take a stroke of God. Pylon Pounders, the Black Hole. Here's why the Pylon Pounders are not wrapped up. Because if they lose this week and the Black Hole wins this week, they'll both be 8-3. But and Pylon Pounders has a tiebreaker over the Black Hole. But the problem is this. If Pylon Pounders lose, they'll be 6-3 in division. The Black Hole will be 7-2 in division. Thus, the tiebreaker between the two head-to-head won't matter. That only matters if the division record is the same. And it's not. So, that unfortunately means that you do not automatically win this there, Manny. So, that's what we got. Had you won, it would have been over. Or he did win. But now you control your own destiny. If you win, you win. If you had lost last week, then you would need a win and help. So, that would be interesting. So, now we're going to do a playoff look here, okay? This is where the fun begins. Okay, so you look right here. We see various colors on this sheet, okay? And don't worry about this stupid thing, how it automatically formats it to a date. I hate it. I'll move this over here. There we go. Now you can't tell. The pink Bleeding Blue Bombers are 9-1. They are 8-0 in conference. And the reason they have a pink banner is because they already have clinched a first-round bye. They're the only team to have clinched a first-round bye. Let's get that straight. Only team to have clinched a first-round bye. Now, the difference between last year, this year, and previous years, I should say, because last year's when we adopted this new format with the extra teams and more teams in the playoffs. It used to be 24 teams made it, and all of the division winners got a bye, but there wasn't enough action at the end of the year. Wasn't enough action. Anyway, if you got to bye, you automatically, if you won your conference, you automatically want to bye, and it caused a lot of lameness the final week. Not anymore. Last year we adopted this new format, and I'm telling you, it makes it very interesting the last week of the year. So, the dark gold, or whatever you want to call it, orange, means that these guys have definitively won their conference. Okay? Bleeding Blue Bombers, obviously. Cheechke Muckers, Chop It Off and Make You Stunning Brave. You've already won your conference. So, you're going to get $50, but will you get a bye? That is the question. Okay? A lot of teams are 8-2, including Pylon Pounders, who have not officially won their conference, but they have this light yellow, which means they are winning their conference currently, however, have not won it yet. So, you could make the argument that the Pylon Pounders, because let's just go over this again, okay? Division winners all obviously make the playoffs, and the next 13 best records make the playoffs, okay? That's going to be critical for the Pylon Pounders here because I believe it is mathematically impossible for them. Maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, there are 14 7-3 teams. And some of them are going to win the conference. So I'm going to say it. The Pylon Pounders, no matter what, are going to get in based on record, okay? Because the 13 teams will make it after the division winners. So, yeah. Right? Is that right? 13 teams get based on a record. It's 23, 25, 27. That's how that works. Okay. So, we're going to go to record looking here, right here, okay? So, assuming, well, we have two things to talk about. We have people winning their conference for, well, three things. People winning their conference, people getting a bye, and then people getting in on record, okay? Let me just make this pink again here. With this stupid thing again. With things being the way they are, let's talk strictly on buys first, okay? On buys, you have to win your conference, obviously, and then you also have to have a better record and then conference record and then points versus the teams that you're tied against, okay? So, Cheechkin and Muckers have a huge leg up here because they are 7-1 in conference. If they lose, they will go to 8-3/7-2. Of that, some of these teams cannot match that because of the way some of these guys are not going to win their conference and therefore it doesn't matter. Although I think most of these are actually teams that can win their conference, to be honest with you. Patriot Thunder, Malcolm Rodriguez for sure, hitting rugs. Yeah, these guys can all win their conference. They haven't won it yet. So, Cheechkin and Muckers, they basically need to submit a lineup this week because if they do and they win, they get a bye automatically. If they submit a so-so lineup, they could win and they would get a bye automatically. Or they could just choose to be like, whatever, I'll use my bye this week, start a bunch of scrubs, and hope that the other teams below them lose, you know? So there's a lot going on here because easily, I mean, chop it off, Mickey Stunning and Brave. If their record was 7-1, they would be able to coast because of this number of points they have here. It's crazy high. But, I mean, look at that. Almost 100 points more than Muckers. Yet, the conference record is different. So, this will be interesting. Pylon Pounders, like I said, they are going to make the playoffs no matter what. Just the question is, do they want to win $50? Probably. If you win your conference, you win $50. And I will reach out to everybody next week to see how they want to be paid that $50. Preferably Cash App or Venmo or maybe PayPal. I just got to know how you want it. So, yeah. So, the buys are one thing, which only one team is guaranteed a bye next for the first round of the playoffs. These other guys, you got to look. Then you have these other teams that could and probably will win their conference. Now, if things were the way they are right this second, okay, if these light yellow teams won their conference, that means these blue teams would get in on record. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now, again, that does not mean that they're going to get in because some of these people will lose and cause some chaos. But right now, this is what you'd be looking at. These teams that are 6-4 down here in the 4-4, they might not have a chance, including myself, of getting in on record. But it's possible. They'll be 7-4, 5-4. Some of these teams can lose, be 7-4, 5-4. Then you need these points. But if you look at the points, K-Dog Millionaire, for example, 827. Vic in a box, 870. The league needs him to get in on record because, as you will see in a second, that's a lot of points. That is a lot of points. In fact, I think it's the second most points in the league. So, Vic in the box, You can't coast because if you don't put up any points, you will not be leading the league in points. So you're sitting pretty good. Try to win. If you don't win, you'll probably get it on points. So you're sitting pretty good. Just don't coast. Okay? Now, as I mentioned, the next two teams outside of that would get in on points. Okay? So as of right now, if Vic in a Box makes it based on record, the league is thankful. Because if everything stays the way it is right now, as of right now, which means nothing come next week, by the way, the teams with the two highest points that aren't in based on record are the Donkey Punchers and Kakambas. Not sure why I don't have them highlighted in a weird color. We're going to highlight them in red. But if you look, you have Ducky on Quack, which is 1 point behind them. Providence Power, 2 points behind them. Super Cyclones, 10 points behind them. Stixie, 11 points behind them. And then the Crush. Look at the Crush. The Crush is 14 points out of that bottom second seed for points. And, I mean, really, they're only, what, 30, not even 30 points away from the top point seed? And the record's 3-7. You can't even see that, can you? Shit. I just realized you can't see that. Let me scroll down over here. Yeah, right here. The Crush. That might not help, but the Crush has 779 points, and they're 3-7. Craziness. Now, if you look up here, though, the 870 of Vic in a Box is a problem for the rest of the league. Because if they lose this week, that means they are not getting in on record. That means they are probably going to get in on points. Although, you never know. I mean, like I said, they could score 29 points. The other teams could put up 100, and you know. But they are sitting very, very good of getting in the playoffs regardless if they win or lose. If they win, that opens up a lot of possibilities here because then you have the top dog who wouldn't be there, pun intended, is K-Dog, and that's assuming he doesn't get in on record. Nilbon McGibbs, Cobb McCobb. These guys are 7-3. These guys can probably get in even if they lose, potentially, based on the number of points they have. So, whole bunch of scenarios here going forward. But, I mean, if you're down in this area here, that you can see your name in this area, probably all the way up to, like, Cot Jockeys, I'm guessing. Now, if there's a huge difference between Cot Jockeys and Ghetto Heisman, or Hurt So Good. You know what? Screw it. We're going to say Cloacal Kiss and above. I mean, Cloacal Kiss put up 110 points. That put them at 870. And then, this guy could put up 50 points. Donkey Punchers. Cloacal Kiss, that big performance this week helped you. So, you could be one of these teams down here towards the bottom of this list and still make it, I think. Love Story 761. Possible. So, that's that. Now, I want to look at the playoff look real quick. We were supposed to do this before we did the points here. But I just wanted to show you. Now we'll go with the playoff scenarios here, okay? This is where the Bowski Conference is won by Billy Blue Bombers. Kirk Lazarus Conference, Patriot Thunder, they control their own destiny. If they win, they get it. They win the conference because they'll be 8-3. I can't believe we did this in the wrong order, but whatever. Or they win with a loss and a Golf with Laporta and Nut All Over Your Face loss. So they can get in with a loss and some help. Golf with Laporta would need to win and have the Patriot Thunder lose in order to win the conference. And then Nut All Over Your Face can still do this. If they win and the Patriot Thunder and Golf with Laporta lose, Nut All Over Your Face would be 7-4, 5-4. 7-4, 6-3. Patriot Thunder would be 7-4, 6-3. As would Golf and Laporta, but here's the deal. No, sorry. Golf and Laporta loses, they'd be 5-4, and therefore they would not. So it'd be a tiebreaker between Nut All Over Your Face and Patriot Thunder, and Nut All Over Your Face beat Patriot Thunder. So 3 teams can win this conference based on those scenarios right there. Jeff McCauley Conference, a little bit easier here. Malcolm Rodriguez, all they have to do is win, and they get in. Or if they lose and Football's Life loses. If Football's Life loses, then Malcolm Rodriguez would win the conference because they would have a better conference record. However, if Malcolm Rodriguez loses and Football's Life wins, and Football's Life would win the conference because they'd be 8-3 and Malcolm Ridge would be 7-4. Conference record doesn't matter at that point. So that's how that works. Frank Drebin Conference. This is crazy. So Do You Even Swift, bro? All they have to do is win to get the conference. If they lose, however, and Stinky Fingers wins, then they would still win the conference based on tiebreaker, okay? But get this. The other two teams in contention here are Stinky Fingers and Fly Eagles Fly, who play each other this week. So, essentially, if Do You Even Swift, bro loses, whoever wins the Stinky Fingers Fly Eagles Fly game will win the conference. So that's nuts. So that game, they're going to be watching the Do You Even Swift game just like their own. But yeah, 3 teams can win Do You Even Swift, bro. All they have to do is win out, though. That's all. They have to win one game. That's all they have to do. Similar scenario here with Brody Bruce Conference. They have 4 teams in the running. Suicide Squad they control their own destiny. But I am pretty sure they have to win, because if they lose, because some of these teams are playing each other, they won't win. I don't think there's a losing scenario here because coming from behind plays. No, sorry. Nibble on My Gibbs, Cough on My Goff plays Love Story. So, yeah, they play each other down here. So, Suicide Squad has to win to win the conference. If they lose, they will not get it. Okay? So coming from behind needs Suicide Squad to lose and Nibble on My Gibbs, Cough on My Goff to lose to Love Story, and they would win the conference. Nibble on My Goff, Cough on My Gibbs, whatever the fuck his name is, they play Love Story this week. If they beat Love Story and Coming From Behind and Suicide Squad both lose to Sag Nasty's Not Above, Not So Not, and Now You See Me, Now You Don't, then Nibble on My Gibbs would win the conference. However, if Love Story beats Nibble on My Gibbs and Coming From Behind and Suicide Squad loses, they would win the conference. And why is that? Because Coming From Behind and Suicide Squad both lost to the Love Story. So, 4 teams can win that conference. Craziness happening there. Rod Kimball, not so crazy. Cheechki, they've already won. Napoleon Dynamite Conference, Chop It Off, has already won. Because if they lose and Better Bring Your A Games wins, they'd both be 8-3, the 6-3 conference record. But because Chop It Off beat Better Bring Your A Game all the way back in week 3, Chop It Off has a tiebreaker. That was the first week of conference play, folks, and Better Bring Your A Game lost. And who would have thought that first game of conference play meant that much? It does. I say it every year. Conference play means more than the out-of-conference games. But at the end of the day, overall record's most important. But still, that week 3 game looms huge because Chop It Off has already won the conference. They can rest if they want to take a chance on not getting the first round bye in the playoffs. But they get a first round, they get a bye. See, that's what I'm saying. The title graphic of this says, So It Begins. And that features 3 people, which would be J-Mac, Mason Bradley, and Cassandra. Although you could easily put Rob Bradley and, I'm not Rob Bradley because he's technically second. Pylon Pounders could have been on this graphic, but there's only 3 people on the graphic. It's from Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. Anyway, speaking of hitting rugs, they play Point Blank. K-Dog Millionaire. Look at this. Hitting Rugs, Will's Wranglers tied with the division record, tied with the conference record, and K-Dog Millionaire tied with the division record, 1 down in conference record. But here's the thing. Hitting Rugs plays Will's Wranglers this week. So the winner of that game will win the conference, period. However, it's happened already this year, folks. It is extremely unlikely. But, hypothetically speaking, if K-Dog Millionaire wins against whoever he's playing, didn't look that up for some reason, and these 2 guys tie, then K-Dog Millionaire would win the conference. So it's possible. They would need Will's Wranglers and Hitting Rugs to tie, which is a 1 in a million shot probably. We have had 1 tie this year. Point Blank, that was the first tie in the history of Muscle. So it's very unlikely, but it could happen. Could happen. And guess what, Kyler Easterling? Even if that doesn't happen, if you win, you're 8-3, almost guaranteed to make the playoffs based on record. So you got to win that game. And then we get to the final conference, which is the Lloyd Christmas Conference. The Pylon Pounders, they have a 1-game edge in regular record, which is why they're leading the conference right now. But they have a similar, aka identical, conference record, which means that if Pylon Pounders loses and Black Hole wins, guess what would happen? They'd both be 8-3, but the Black Hole would be 7-2 in conference, and the Pylon Pounders would be 6-3. So, all Pylon Pounders have to do is win, and they win the conference. Or if they lose and the Black Hole loses, they win the conference. But if the Black Hole wins and Pylon Pounders loses, doesn't matter that the Pylon Pounders just beat them this week, because the tiebreaker only comes in effect when this is the same and this is the same, which it would not be in this situation. Thus, the Black Hole would win the $50 and the Lloyd Christmas Conference. So that's how that works. We've already done the point standing. We did it in opposite order. I don't know why I have this rundown if I don't pay attention to it. But there you have it. Okay? Now we're going to look at this matchup, the matchups this week. We already know the big ones, but we're going to go over them anyway. I got to get my music ready, because we know the implications. We've already talked about it. Oh. Here we go. FarmersOnly.com. They can't win the conference 7-3. Taking on Hurt So Good, 4-6. FarmersOnly.com. Anyone who's 7-3, if they get a win, they're almost practically guaranteed to win or to make the playoffs based on record. The 6-4 teams are where it's much more critical. Vic in a box, 6-4, taking on Bleeding Blue Bombers, who has nothing to play for other than going to tie the all-time record, 10-1. 10-game win streak would be an all-time record, I believe, as well. Pat Provo Sr., I don't know if he cares that much. I don't know if he cares that much about that. He'd rather have the money, save his players. Namtab Knights, 1-9. Ducky on Quack can't really get in on record, but he can get in on points. So it doesn't matter who he's playing. So, that game's not that important. I don't know why I even talked about it. Mullen Incorporated, Hernandez Hitman. Mullen Incorporated 6-4. Need a win to have a chance to get in on record, no doubt. Tallywhackers can play spoiler to Golfing with Laporta. They win that game. It causes some chaos for the rest of the conference. Golfing with Laporta wins, then he has a chance. Same here, Providence Power. The only thing I have to play for is record. Getting in on record, because keep in mind, we're going to say it again. I'll say it loud and say it proud. Your record is critical, and then your conference record, but then your points. So you want to score as many points as you can, because if you're tied with someone else in both those other two categories, then the tiebreaker is points. So I can knock off James St. Germain, who still cannot give me that deal on the GameCube, so I'm going to try my best to knock him off. Case in point, I have 791 points. He has 797 points, but he has 2 more wins than I do. Only 1 more win than I do. Nevertheless, we're moving on. Muckers, he's already won. Will he play for a bye, or will he just play conservative? Death by 1,000 punts. They're only 4-6. Malcolm Rodriguez, they need to win that game versus DeMar Hamlin's booster shot. We've already talked about that. Football's Life, play with Mike Ditka, big game. Tony Cromwell needs to deliver. Play spoiler, knock out Tom Farmer to help Cassandra out. I wouldn't mind that much. Love Story versus Nibble in my Gibbs, cough on my Goff. This is a big game. I'm gonna give it, deserves its own music. It does. Love Story. It's quite the love story here. If they can come back and have a happy ending, Nibble on my Gibbs, cough on my Goff, seems like a happy ending. But yes, if Bonnie Monahan wins that game, they can come back and win the conference. John Zemer needs that win to have a really good chance of winning the conference. Suicide Squad, another big one there. Coming from out, these 3 games are critical right here. Not playing the best records, but playing good owners. You know, as Ben Miller's 5-5, and Frazier somehow is 2-8. That sucks. But come from behind playing prideful owner as well as Ben Miller also. So big games there. We're going down here. 15, better bring your A game. He cannot get in on. He cannot win the conference, but he can definitely get in on record. 8-3 would be nice. Chop it off. We already know where that is. But of course, without a doubt, the biggest game of the season. It's gonna be. You know it. Number 10, Wheels Wranglers taking on number 7, Hitting Rugs. The winner takes all unless it's a tie. Ryan Knight, Mason Gray, Bradley, whose sister dealt him a death blow. Well, not a death blow, but a paralyzing blow. He has to just lay there and see what happens this week, because if had Hit and Rugs won, this would not be that important of a game. But Hit and Rugs lost last week. Wills Wranglers, Ryan Knight versus Hit and Rugs. Winner take all. Winner get the conference. Winner potentially get a bye. If they tie, very unlikely, K-Dog Millionaire, all he has to do is beat New Orleans Rock Chucks, and he would win that conference. And then, of course, we do have down here, you can't even, well, I guess you can see it. Pylon Pounders taking on Turn Your Head and Golf. This would have been an enormous game had Zach won last week, but he did not. Pylon Pounders still needs to win that game. If he wins that game, he will be 9-2. I want to go back to this page back here. These 8-2 teams, if they win, they are guaranteed a bye in the first round, because the top 5 get it. So, that's it. If these 4 win, they're going to get a bye in the first round of playoffs. So, these games are important even for Cheechki Muckers and Chop It Off and Make You Stunning and Brave, folks. Twilight Zone reality, folks. So, there you have it. There are your playoff scenarios. Don't forget, the points are critical, too. Anyone who's down in this range here, we're going to call this the doable range. We're going to, especially down here, we're going to call this the doable range. We'll give it a little dark gray tint. These guys definitely have the capability of getting in on points. There's no doubt about it. And even a little bit below them, but I don't have the time to go there. Like Cloacal Kiss even down here. These white people, I'll tell you about these white people. Yeah. So, bring your A game, like Rob Jazerski, and submit lineups. Don't get randomized the final week. That'd be horrible. Next week, we will have the complete breakdown. We will do the lottery drawing. Don't forget, 2 teams. This is big. 2 teams get in based on just how many wins they have. If you get 1 ticket for every win you have. You get no tickets for a tie, unfortunately, for the people who tied. And anything can happen. And some teams have been eliminated from that drawing. So if you've been consistent with your lineups, I did decide that the teams who were pulled from their owners, they are the ones who were not replaced with real owners are removed from the lottery. So that makes your guys' odds better who stuck with the league, especially people like Michael Myers and what's his name? Who's down here? Oh yeah, Justin Redding, yeah, the mad scientist. 2-8, but stuck with it, man. He's not some chump. Brian David 2-8, Ryan Frazier 2-8. All these guys have stuck with it. You have a chance, get a win this last week, and you get an extra ticket. But it is a lottery. It is a spin the wheel, winner gets in. So don't get randomized second time. On that note, the people who are eligible potentially for losing their drawing, here's the big one. Swine Flu, Wills Wranglers, Barry McCockner, which isn't even his name anymore. I think it's like Jack Me Off in the End Zone or something like that. Your Mother Likes My Defense, Da Crush, Low Hanging Fruit, Team Bill Collins, a.k.a. Soggy Croutons, the Clockwork Elves, Joe Bark Yourself, Sewer Bombs, Andy Phelps, or Digger Phelps, Hawk 2 in the Double G spot. These guys are still alive for the playoff drawing. Unfortunately, Moose Knuckles and Hanging with Mr. Hernandez are not. They have to get in on points because they got randomized twice. The teams that were randomized 3 times, you can see they have been eliminated. So that's 3. Well, no, these guys up here were replaced. You're in trouble. New Orleans Rock Chicks, Pork and Beans, they have been taken over by government assistance, if you will. So there you have it. Put your lineups in. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, and happy Veterans Day. / happy birthday to my son, who probably doesn't watch this.